Hello everyone. It's me, Arden Lee. I am back today with another video, and today's video is about chronic overthinking. Overthinking. I hear a lot of people making complaints about how overthinking is causing them stress and anxiety. And oh my gosh, you guys, I love to overthink things. I love to overthink things so much. And I have learned over time how to make that work for me and how to make my overthinking, my analytical abilities, my abilities to analyze and synthesize information and to turn ideas around and around in my mind. I've used that and I've channeled that into a way to actually open up possibilities for the future, to be more creative, to imagine more new and exciting possibilities rather than staying on the same hamster wheel and overthinking things that I can't even control to the point where it gives me a ton of stress and anxiety. So I want to share those secrets with you today about how to use your overthinking much more productively in ways that make you happy. So if you haven't done so already, before I dive into that topic, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel. I love to make talks on this channel about how to hack our beliefs and reframe our perspectives so that we can create more room for happiness and abundance in our lives. So that's kind of what today's talk is about in particular, is about how to take our tendencies to overthink and overanalyze situations and actually reframe them within our minds to make them work for us instead of against us. So if that sounds like the kind of content that you're into, this might be a channel that you'd be into as well. So go ahead and hit that button and let me know how these talks are landing for you. Let me know what is helpful, and let me know what you want to see me talk about in the future as well. I'm always open to ideas if it's something that that my audience will find helpful to improving their own lives and their own mindsets. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about overthinking. If you guys haven't noticed already, I am a pretty big overthinker. I earlier, I guess probably like last week on this channel, I went on a 28-minute rant caused by watching A Christmas Prince 2, The Royal Wedding, and how that inspired me to talk about the role of surrender in the ego death. It's pretty obvious that I overthink things if watching A Christmas Prince 2, The Royal Wedding caused me to go on a 28-minute long rant about how we need to surrender our former selves when we were undergoing a deep transformative process. So I don't think there is anyone who is familiar with me and my work who would look at me and say that I am not an overthinker. But I really don't experience a ton of anxiety these days. I sometimes experience suspense and curiosity, and sometimes I experience that sense of like, oh my God, I want to know what happens next. What's going on? What is this all leading to? How do I put all these puzzle pieces together? But it doesn't cause me stress or worry. It just causes me, it's sort of like a real life version of just watching a movie and being in suspense about it. You know, I have that feeling of trust, that feeling of safety, that I know I'm going to be supported, that I know that, you know, nothing's going to go horribly wrong, that I'm not going to be able to fix or whatever. I'm not worried about everyone's tiny little perceptions of me, you know, and when I say tiny little perceptions of me, I mean that the wide perception of me as a person is divided up into everyone's little individual opinions of me, and I'm not going to stress out over one or two of them. I'm going to be the best, most authentic version that I can be of myself. I'm going to go to the people that I trust to be my friends and mentors and make sure they are checking up on me, and that everything that I'm doing is in alignment and is congruent with who I want to be in the world, and I'm going to get the feedback of the people I care about and whose opinions I value to make sure that that's true. But I'm not going to worry about every single little thing out there. I'm just going to let, I'm going to let the people who resonate with me, and I'm going to let go of whatever is not in alignment with me. So I think it is pretty safe to say that at this point in my life, I have become pretty good about letting go of anxiety. When I start to think about the anxiety that I felt in the past, it often came from fear of abandonment around my relationships. And I actually I understand that I'm oversimplifying things a lot because this is a video on one topic and I don't want to go too far into this, but essentially I decided that I don't want to be in any relationships where I need to feel anxiety around abandonment anymore. I want to be with people who have no problem with letting me know, the natures of the commitments that they're making to show up for me. And for us, for any relationship that I'm in with someone, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or a business partnership, for us always to feel like, okay, we both want to feel like this is in alignment. And if one of us is feeling like this is not in alignment, then let's look at that and let's navigate that. And ultimately, I got to the point where, with my fear of abandonment, I was like, if someone abandons me, that's information telling me that they were not right for the kind of relationship that I wanted. And I no longer feel that kind of stress anymore. Just, opening Instagram and worrying that, the dude I like is going to be posting a photo with another woman or whatever, which has absolutely happened to me in the past. And, I was, oh my God, my stomach was in knots for like 48 hours. My stomach was in knots like perpetually when I was in those kinds of situations. And I've, I've gotten to a place now where I'm no longer using my overthinking to figure out how I can prevent my own rejection or abandonment, because if someone's going to reject me, quote unquote, or abandon me, which probably isn't even about me, it's probably about them, then they're not someone I want in my life, right? So the anxiety that your overthinking is related to is actually just because you're overthinking the wrong things. Hi, Virgil. How are you doing? Would you like to join me? Would you like to say hi to everyone in the video? Look into the phone. They're looking at you right now because you're a cat and you're stealing the show. So if you're overthinking about things that are actually exciting and lead you to new ideas and lead you down paths toward creative freedom and sovereignty, it's all about where you're directing your overthinking. This is the problem that I think I have with this idea that overthinking is a bad thing. Because if we think that overthinking is a bad thing, we're going to just try and tell ourselves to stop. And as anyone who has ever tried to not think of a pink elephant will tell you, you can't just tell yourself to stop a behavior. You can't, I overdo a lot of things. I overthink. I also tend to overgive. I have overgiven in relationships a lot in the past. And anything that I am doing with this overflow, where there's an abundance, there's too much, if I just try to cut it off and stop doing it, there's nowhere for that energy to go. And it ends up feeling stifling and stymieing. It's like, an object in motion wants to remain in motion. So what I do, instead of just saying like, stop that behavior, don't do it anymore, if there's an overabundance of something that I'm doing, I tend to try to just redirect that into a new place. I just give it a new home. So I decided, for example, that I was going to start overthinking how to become a serious musical artist. And I was going to start using all of my overthinking tendencies and channeling them into something that I could be proud of. I was like, you know what? When I released this album, I released my EP with my band, Who Can You Trust, this past February 2018. I have a band called Arden and the Wolves. If you're not already familiar, definitely go check it out if that sounds like it's your thing. When I decided to release that EP, I wanted to be really serious about it in a way that I had not been prior, when I was making music more as sort of like practice to gain my sea legs. So I was like, all right, let me really put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into the creation of this music, of these songs, into my songwriting, and also into the way that I'm going to figure out how to promote it or what I want to do with it or whatever, When that was done, I was like, you know what? I really want to go full force with my business. So now oh my God, you guys, I'm overthinking all the time. I have more thinking that I could possibly know what to do with. There's more information available to me right now than I can possibly try to overthink about, right? I use my overthinking and I start watching, inspirational YouTube videos or talks that some of my business coach friends have done on Facebook, and I start, listening to podcasts and I start getting myself into the mindset that I want to be in. And I use all of my gifts of overthinking. I'm not even going to call it a burden or a bad thing. I use all of my gifts of overthinking to allow myself to start processing this new information, right? It's all about just the places that you're taking this and where you're bringing that energy. And ultimately, whatever it is that you're doing, in the same way that I used to overgive in relationships, I stopped overgiving to people that I was dating, because I was like, you need to hold on, and you need to not just, I was, this flow of energy was going in this direction where it was like I was giving and giving and giving, and so often I was receiving little to nothing in return, and it was just not, there was no, it was just like imagine it was just like being dumped out into the ocean. It was just like, it was just going, and there was nothing coming back. There was no return on my investment. So I decided, I was like, well, why don't I put that energy into some places that are going to be better? So I started, doing it for my friends. I started making dinners for my friends. I started, like baking cookies for holidays and giving them out to my friends, and doing things that really resulted in good feelings everywhere, and I'm looking even now, like earlier today I was talking to a friend of mine about doing some volunteer work in the new year. If you're over giving in your relationships, start to take all of that giving, and rather than just saying, no, I'm not going to give, how can you take those same things that you're doing for a non-responsive partner and start to put them out into the world in places where you're actually going to get a return on what you're doing, right? Whether that's the good feeling that you get from volunteering for people who actually, appreciate your work and want to, where that it's going somewhere where it's useful and it's not just being squandered, or do you want to do it, for your friends, for the people who are going to give you that energy in return in friendship? It's not transactional, but it's just like that flow of energy where you feel reciprocated to, you feel appreciated by, et cetera, et cetera. So as far as overthinking goes, you take that same mechanism that wants to overthink the same ideas and you apply that to learning something completely new, and you make, ultimately, there's so many other mechanisms that divorced my overthinking from my anxiety, and so much of that was about deciding that I did not want to be in relationships that made me anxious. And if I started feeling anxious about someone, then either I needed to just cut it the fuck out because there's not a problem until there's actually a problem, or or it wasn't the right relationship for me. Either I'm just seeing things that aren't there, and then I need to self-correct and say, let's bring this energy where it's useful, or the relationship was just not the right one for me, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this if I have to guess where I stand with you, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes it actually is just as easy as setting that intention and allowing it to then unfold in your life and become true for you. It's just a matter of sticking with it and really putting yourself first and saying, no, I will absolutely choose myself before I choose to be with someone who's going to make me, feel bad about myself. I would rather get rid of that person than get rid of all of the work that I have done to feel good about myself. And I'm going to put myself first, right? It sounds like it's overly simplistic, but sometimes sometimes that's really just what it comes down to, is making that promise to yourself that that's what you're going to do. So I use that as an example because for me, that's where so much of my overthinking came into play, especially with me, being a former dating coach and always wondering, like, what can I do differently? What can I do differently to make this relationship situation work out better in my favor? And really, I was just overthinking on the wrong things. So now I'm so excited to overthink about, like all the books I'm reading, all the cool things I'm learning about the way that our brains take in information and learn things. If I wasn't an overthinker, you guys, I wouldn't have this YouTube channel. I wouldn't have things to talk about 10 times a week in order to come on here, consistently and tell you about all the things that I'm overthinking for the week. But I think that since I have a healthy relationship now to overthinking, I really see it as part of my role in society, is that I actually am the person who, one of many people, but that I am part of that group of people whose job it may be, whose soul mission it may be right now, to examine all the things that maybe most of us don't, to look at the conditions that we live under, to look at the way that our brains function and the way that things work, and to unpack those and start to bring greater clarity and understanding to those things. And if I were not a chronic overthinker, I would not be very good at this job. So I really encourage you to reframe the idea of overthinking and just redirect it to something that feels better, that feels healthier, something that makes you, more interesting of a person, or wiser, or smarter, or more productive in some way. There's so many other places where you can channel your overactive mind to actually work in your benefit. And it's just a matter of bringing that mindfulness to your thoughts and saying, what am I overthinking about today? And is it actually helping me? Is overthinking this text message that I'm sending this person I like actually putting my life in a better place? Or is it silly for me to waste more than about 20 seconds thinking about it, right? So bringing more and more of that mindfulness to our everyday thoughts is really going to help you. And I just hope that, I hope that if you've taken anything from this video, it's that, you know, overthinking is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it can actually be a gift, but we have to learn to use it like a gift and to treat it like a gift and to use it in a way that actually feeds our happiness and our success and our wisdom and our inner peace, and not in ways that just make us keep going around and around in circles and being miserable. So I hope you got something out of this. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.